This is the Sunday stream opening song because the other song is copyrighted. La 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 la. Oh, look, here comes Dog Cat Fox.
Hi, Sky.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Sunday stream, the stream I do on Sundays because Sunday is the day to stream on Sundays. Hope you're all doing well this morning. It is a chilly morning where I am. Chilly Willy, amongst other various pieces of my anatomy. Yes, well, I have said before, it is not my intention to turn the Sunday stream into a regular stream covering education in one form or another. However, it just happened to be the case that this article popped up the other day, and in relation to the TED Excellence that we did on Thursday, it just seemed like kismet to talk about this, given certain elements of that TEDx and what is implied by this article's title and some of the content therein. I will admit I read the article the other day when it came out, but it's been a couple of days, so my recollection is not as fresh as it could be otherwise. So it'll feel like I'm reading it for the first time. But before we get into that, who is joining me on this adventure into Sunday morning surveying? I tried to come up with some alliteration there. I failed. Matt Barnes, Eager Pony, Swirl Blue, Dark Remedy, Mike Savage, Blarg, Keeverdam. Oh my gosh, is this true? Is this true? Keeverdam says Zalbla's GoFundMe has reached its goal. Yay! Excellent. Congratulations to Zalbla and to everybody who donated. Thank you so much for your generosity for helping her out. I'm glad to see that everybody's come together again. As Ranting Monkey, Satsu 2 Cents, and myself have said many times before, you guys are the greatest audience in the world. And we appreciate all of you and all of what you do for each other, as well as what you do for all the content creators that you enjoy. So congratulations again to Zalba. Thank you, Keeverdam, for that. Appreciate it. Let's see, who else is here? No Name, SWD40. Is that like a special lubricant? Is that what the S is for? Special WD-40? Lexi Mads. Oh, now I can start. Funtime Bats. Robert Gruber. Ebony Williams. Check your logic. Pear de Bayar, or Payar de Bayar. Good morning. Good morning to you all. So, what do we have in front of us? Well, I'll give away the ending here a little bit. Sort of. As you may recall from this week's TED Excellence, and if you haven't seen it, I recommend you watch it, if only to have your mind melted, but give away a little bit of it. Our speaker, a professional educator there, assured us at the beginning of the talk that critical race theory is not taught in K through 12 schools in this nation. In fact, critical race theory is a doctoral level super big think college stuff, legal stuff, but not taught in schools, regular schools, K through 12 schools. Well, with that assurance, let's dive into this article from NBCnews.com and their subheading, Think, Opinion, Analysis, and Essays. Schools face parents who want to ban critical race theory and don't get how teaching works. An educator's top goal is to teach students to think. No, it's to teach them ideally how to think and not what to think. There needs to be, I think, a modifier there because every human being, short of being brain dead, thinks in some way, shape, or form. Parents who dictate curricula with their personal opinions, ideologies, and biases hinder that goal. For as we know, no teacher could possibly dictate curricula with their personal opinions, ideologies, and biases. As we know, teachers are immune from such indiscretions. This is by Christina Wyman, author of the forthcoming novel Jawbreaker. Is it about the band? Anyway, parents and politicians across the country are interfering with the curricula that public schools use to teach students. Because as we know, the curricula public schools use are sacrosanct. State legislatures are passing laws to keep critical race theory out of schools. Well, it should be a very easy job then, because there is no critical race theory in schools. Literary classics like Toni Morrison's The Bluest Eye are banned for sexual content. Okay. And school libraries are coming under attack for containing books about gender. Now, there's a hyperlink there. The books about gender is that picture book that's been making all the rounds lately that shows explicit sex acts to elementary school kids. Yeah, quote unquote books about gender. We'll just call it that and not get any more specific. But there are even parents who are trying to shield students from learning about mental health and suicide, as though helping children build emotional fortitude is a bad thing. I hadn't heard about that one, but given how our writer here has already glossed over certain details about her complaints, I have to wonder if there's not some more there. Maybe I'll follow up on that later. While the political climate and national involvement in school districts give the phenomenon a broader platform and have more serious ramifications, this behavior is nothing new. No, it isn't. Teachers getting involved in their child's education is nothing new? You don't say. Parents have always tried to interfere with curricula. And again, as you know, a public school's curriculum is sacrosanct and may not be questioned. Parents have always tried to interfere with curricula, as I observed when teaching middle school in the mid-2000s. Even then, there was no shortage of parental input about the content of my instruction, from books to test questions. Part of the problem is that parents think they have the right to control teaching and learning because their children are the ones being educated. I'm going to highlight that and read that one more time. Part of the problem is that parents think they have the right to control teaching and learning because their children are the ones being educated. Okay. Now I'm going to back up slightly. What is that? What is that thing called? You know, that sort of like nebulous organization where those who have had children and those who are charged with educating them. Oh yeah, Parent-Teacher Association. Okay. Now, a parent trying to tell a teacher how to do their job in some kind of like micromanaging way, I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that. Okay. I mean, if you're going to send your kid off to a school, there has to be a certain level of trust extended that the teacher knows what they're doing. However, the idea that parents should not be a part of the educational process, or that anything they may question or have concerns about qualifies as interfering, that doesn't sound right either. Now, as those of you who have listened to my my streams and my videos over the years will know that one of the questions I ask most often when listening to an educator on a stage talking about their philosophy on teaching, something I always keep my ears open for is, what role do the parents play in this notion? Right? At any point in a presentation from teachers about teaching students, do they bring up parental involvement? Right? Or parental input. If the teacher does not, and it is, context sensitive, let's say, but if in a presentation about education, a teacher does not at any point bring up the parents in some way, shape, or form, I have to wonder if the teacher sees themselves as the parent, or more accurately, the guru. Given how so many teachers I've seen these days, and I think our author here might be one of them, seem to believe that being a teacher means I get to indoctrinate children into my personal social ideology. And anybody who interferes with that is the evildoer. I mean, we'll find out as we go. Thank you, Matt Barnes. Question: if we have no control over what kids learn, why are private and home schools allowed? I don't know. I don't know. Parents shouldn't have any say. And I know that's not what you said here, but let's just keep going. Let's just keep going. All right. So part of the problem is that parents think they have the right to control teaching and learning because their children are the ones being educated. But it actually, gasp, that's the author, not me, gasp, doesn't work that way. It's sort of like entering a surgical unit thinking you can interfere with an operation simply because the patient is your child. Here's the thing. That is a terrible analogy. You know why that is? Okay. Because raising your child includes teaching them about the world. Right? Okay. Relaying information. You may be an expert at teaching. You are not an expert at someone else's child. You are not an expert at someone else's wants and desires for their child. We're not talking about surgery, which is a specific discipline wherein the anatomy of most people aligns with your expertise, and there is one way or a very short list of ways in which to fix a problem. You are not a surgeon. You're a teacher. These are two different things. And the parents are part of the educational process, because where do the kids generally go after they leave your care? Home, to their parents. They're not your children. They are not your disciples. Teaching, too, is a science. Okay. Unless they're licensed and certified, parents aren't qualified to make decisions about curricula. In fact, parental interference can actually hinder student advancement. An educator's primary goal is to teach students to think. No, it's to teach them how to think, how to cognate. It's to teach them facts and figures and how to do math. It's not to teach them what to think, to teach them to think, teach students to think. Parents who attempt to influence curricula with their personal opinions, ideologies, and biases hinder that goal. So if you have one viewpoint and someone comes in with an opposing viewpoint, that prevents somebody from thinking. Okay. When I first pursued teaching nearly 2 decades ago, I was struck by the list of requirements I had to fulfill for the state of New Jersey to determine that I was qualified. Several years of focused college instruction, followed by intense mentorship and state-level exams, were the norm back then, and more exams have been introduced since. I went on to graduate school for even more intense study and eventually earned a PhD in curriculum, instruction, and teacher education. I've spent the last 16 years fully engaged in teaching and curriculum development, including a steady stream of professional development courses. Even teachers who don't have doctorates rarely stop their education at college convocation. That's great. And I don't mean to disparage, if I come across that way, our authors' expertise and academic achievement. But here's the thing. None of that makes you the child's parent. None of that invalidates parental input or involvement in their child's education. Now, if a parent has a unilaterally terrible opinion of what the teacher or the school is teaching their student, they have the option, hopefully, to put their student elsewhere. But here's the thing, oftentimes people can't because they're not rich or there's only so many districts around. So if you are the only shop in town and the parent has a concern about what you're teaching their kid, they are not in the wrong to want to get involved in changing that if they can, whether they do it at the school or they end up doing it at home. So this is where you have to reach some sort of compromise where you are not the end all be all authority over someone else's child, and they're not necessarily end all be all authority on how to be a teacher. That's why there's a parent teacher association. That's why you have conferences. That's why you come to some kind of understanding and sales pitch. And you have to be willing to admit the possibility that you might be wrong. Speaking of teaching people how to think. Thank you again, Matt Barnes. That was a lovely and ornate straw man the author constructed out of surgery. I know, right? I know. It was like a Frankenstein's monster of an argument. Part of the reason for this prolonged instruction, this is her prolonged instruction, is to hone the expertise required to be an effective teacher. Okay. Still not the kid's parent. This involves becoming fluent, not only in the content and issues informing a given subject, but also in how to teach. Yes, parents don't know how to teach. Just so you know. Anyone can walk into a classroom with an understanding of, or at least an opinion about, the content, but not everyone can succeed in teaching it. That is true. That skill is precisely what higher education, intense mentorship, and stressful licensing requirements are designed to build and assess. Right. So you know everything, and parents have nothing to say about it because you're a professional teacher. Okay. Which is why the ceaseless efforts of parents and politicians to shape curricula by targeting book selection, the type of history taught in classrooms, and even specific terms used in classrooms should be ignored. Oh, okay. Well, let's see. What if there was a curricula that had a book that was teaching an incorrect version of American history? An American history that was, I don't know, glossed over with sort of hand-waving away slavery, or maybe just not mentioning certain atrocities committed by the United States government against Native Americans over the course of history. If the school had that curriculum, and a parent had a I don't know, an objection to something like that, I suppose that their objection would be irrelevant. All right. I mean, I'm sure if you heard about a school district somewhere that was teaching that kind of skewed history, any parent having a problem with that would be in the wrong. Right? I just want to make sure I understand where you're coming from. The teacher is always right. This certificate says I am always right. Parents are always wrong and shouldn't interfere. Just want to make sure I understand where you're coming from. Okay. Let's see. These distractions are nothing more than theater, and school boards and administrators should be protecting their teachers and students from it rather than bowing to it. School boards do not own the students. The students are not employees of the school board. What are you talking about? At its best, the parent-teacher relationship is a symbiotic one. The teacher teaches. They work with the parents to ensure that the time that the student is home, they're focusing on getting their homework done. And if there are any issues that are going to come up that are going to interfere with the child's education, at home or otherwise, that they communicate, that they come to some sort of compromise. That's the ideal situation in a very, very small nutshell. You don't want to build a wall, just to steal a term, between education and parents. You don't, because they're not your kids. The parents need you because they can't take the time and don't have the expertise. But you are not. You're not a god, okay? He's just a man, not a god. Anyway, currently 36 states plus Washington, D.C., which really, really wants to be a state, require that teachers have master's degrees to teach, and states typically require administrators and supervisors to have earned advanced degrees in addition to at least one license in administration. As a professor of teacher education and someone who works with teachers in classrooms, I can say with authority that our nation's children are in good, educated, and capable hands, no matter what some parents and politicians appear determined to believe. Well, gosh, if you say so, then I guess anybody that questions that is in the wrong. You should just be given carte blanche to do and say and teach as you please without any oversight by anybody who has a, I don't know, vested interest in the welfare of those children, say their parents. Okay. Now, I also want to mention here, this is not me cheerleading on the Kevins and the Karens of the world who will, clutch their pearls over every little thing and want to be helicopter parents or overbearing or anything else. That's not what I'm all about here. Okay. Like I say, I'm talking about symbiotic relationship. I'm talking about association. I'm talking about compromise. I'm talking about being able to extend some trust to the teacher that they are teaching their children in a healthy manner, but that trust has to be earned through relative action and not a my way or the highway, which is what our author here seems to be pushing across. Of course, as with any profession, there are sometimes incompetent practitioners or bad actors. Wait a second. No, whoa. If I have my certificate, if I have my licensure, nobody gets to question what I have to say. Nobody gets to question my ability or my intent. No. Wait. Let's go back up again. Let's go back up. As a professor of teacher education and someone who works with teachers in classrooms, I can say with authority that our nation's children are in good, educated, and capable hands, no matter what some parents and politicians appear determined to believe. Oh, but there are exceptions. Well, wait a second then. What? I'll never forget the teacher who dreamed up the mock slave auction in a horrifically misguided attempt to teach about slavery, or the teacher who asked students to list the positives of slavery. Well, here's the thing. I'm sorry. Are you saying that someone should get involved in and interfere with that curricula? I mean, why? How? That's just not proper. That's just not proper. If someone has an objection to that, they need to keep quiet. The teacher knows best. The curricula is set by the public schools, and the curricula is sacrosanct. What? More recently, a school in Texas made headlines when one of its school board members insisted that educators teach, quote, both sides, unquote, of the Holocaust, as did a school in Florida for shaming a 14-year-old girl for her clothing. So, should parents interfere in curricula where they see something harmful taking place or not? Are parents justified in supervising or taking a care into their child's education or not? If something completely bug nuts from the parent's perspective is taking place in their school, are they justified in saying something or not? Because if what you say is true, and in Texas or in so many other states, a very high level of licensure and certification is required to become a teacher, and those same certifications and licensures indemnify a teacher from criticism by parents, then what are you talking about in this paragraph? Which is it? Are parents only allowed to question issues they have which you agree with? Because that's what it sounds like you're saying. Such incidents deserve parental and community wrath and should be handled swiftly and aggressively. Oh, okay. Those issues are okay for you. Okay. But anything you don't think, anything that would criticize you, that's where the line is drawn. Okay. Parents should always raise concerns when they feel emotional harm results from the curriculum or teacher-student interactions, and teachers and administrators have a responsibility to listen to their concerns and be responsive when activity in the classroom causes injury to students that's attested to by research, such as use of the N-word and other dehumanizing language. Whoa, 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 whoa. Contradicts own point or argument? Parents should always raise concerns when they feel emotional harm results from the curriculum or teacher-student interactions. Okay, well then, professor, if critical race theory, which is obviously not taught in K through 12 schools, but let's just hypothetically say it was, if critical race theory tends to demonize people on the basis of their race or victimize other people on the basis of their race, and that should cause some kind of, I don't know, emotional harm to students of one stripe or another, parents should always raise concerns. So why don't you get back to the part where critical race theory is not a problem? But short of that, parents, community members, and politicians who aren't qualified to teach should keep their noses out of school curricula. Short of that, so short of the examples that you take exception to, a teacher's main goal should be to teach children to think for themselves. And parents dictating the curriculum interferes with the nurturing of that independence. Every time a kid comes home with homework and they ask their mom or their dad for help, or their mom or their dad volunteers to help, they're interfering with the curriculum. Right? I mean, the kid should just be able to do it on their own. You don't send them home with homework and say, ask your parents for help, or I assume you don't. Tell me about critical race theory again. When are we going to mention that? The future of our country and world are sitting in today's K through 12 classrooms. I believe the children are our future. Teach them well and let them lead the way. Show them all the beauty they possess inside. Give them a sense of pride to make it easier. Let the children's laughter remind us how we used to be. I decided. Okay, I'm going to stop. I'll stop. The future of our country and world are sitting in today's K through 12 classrooms, and those children will eventually become adults in a world requiring their empathy, passion, intelligence, and engagement. Parental interference in school curricula is poised to accomplish the exact opposite, shielding students from real-world issues and diverse perspectives will create bubbles that will render their children ill-prepared to navigate society, particularly when they are called upon to contribute and think critically. So I may be mistaken. And see, there's that thing about injecting at least the possibility of doubt into my own infallibility. I may be mistaken, but I think to a limited extent, I have applied critical thinking to the reading of this article. I have read what she said. I compared it to things she said later and things she said previous. I also really wanted to know about critical race theory and what that had to do with any of this. But apparently it doesn't, or she's not willing to talk about it for one reason or another. I learned that there are certain subjects that you are allowed to question. And apparently there are some subjects whatever they are, you're not allowed to question. That a curriculum set by a public school is sacred, cannot be changed, cannot be questioned, cannot be interfered with, unless that curriculum contains things that our author doesn't agree with or thinks is controversial. And parents should absolutely get involved if they see something going on with their students, or I should say their child's education that they find, for lack of a better word, problematic. Unless it's what I'm teaching, then they need to back off. Then they need a GTFO. Okay, that's the lesson here. So yeah, there's the article. I had very little bit to say on Twitter about it, but it's inconsequential. I've said far more here now. And I just wanted to read that because I think it's a good follow-up to the TED Excellence that happened this week. And again, if you haven't already seen it, please, by all means, go take a look. It is there for you to consume. But yeah, so as another side note, I'm doing the article because truthfully, no sort of like panel discussion or other video jumped out at me this week. Although, admittedly, I hadn't been looking too hard for one because I've been working on my crime video. I know I keep teasing this thing. I don't mean to, drag it out any further than I have to, but I want to get it right. And it's taken me a long time. And I'm doing it bit by bit, very methodical. So a lot of my spare bandwidth has been spent on that. But what do you guys think about this article? Let me know in the comments. And right now, because I'm not going to wrap up quite this quickly, I am doing the article today also because I have a appointment. I don't know if that's a good way to put it. I am going out and going shopping with Sister Scribe here in a relatively short amount of time for some early Christmas shopping and some other things. So anyway, I will entertain any comments you have for the next couple minutes, and then we'll wrap up. Dark Remedy. So they teach children to think for themselves, but if they become parents, they're no longer allowed to think. That's true. Yes, they'll be the leaders of our world as long as they are leaders that pleases our author. Right. They're no longer allowed to think for themselves. They have to just abrogate their responsibility as teachers of their own kind, parents to their children, to someone else who has a certification who they probably don't even know on a personal level. So just back off. Trust me. I'm certified. I'm licensed. Trust me. Keeverdam Scribelight, did you vote yes on the question, should CRT be banned from school? Did I vote yes on the question? Did that question ever come up? If it had come up, I would have said, I don't know. I mean, I probably would say yes, all things considered, given what critical race theory has to say. But I still think that it is far too nebulous a term. It really is. I mean, it has become a buzz phrase and a point of contention for so many people, but it really is an abstract. It really, I think, glosses over a whole nest of possible problems. And interwoven in there may be some perfectly benign and positive things. It all depends on how you define it. And that's part of the issue, is that a lot of people don't know what it means or what it entails or what the worst parts of it entails. I'm not quite sure how to fix that problem because having a catchy buzz phrase is always easier than actually having to take the time to explain it. Yeah, it's one of those things where reflexively I say yes, but given how undefined it can be from person to person, district to district, etc., I fear that there may be a case where you throw out the baby with the bathwater kind of thing. That's the only reason I'm sort of hesitant to say just across the board, line item, this. What specifically? What specifically? What should be, and the other part of it is that trying to ban ideas is always a touchy subject. Like, I mean, the example she brought up where, a teacher does a slave auction as an example in class. Okay. Probably not the best optics for the sake of a school to do to teach about slavery. Might have made some sense, depending on how I presented it, I guess. But yeah, not good, not good. But that is one example of an extension of someone trying to teach something. That practice, once exercised, should probably be pushed back on. Does that mean you're not allowed to teach about slavery at all anymore in schools? No. There's the content and then there's the method. And so that's why I'd sort of be hesitant to just say across the board critical race theory, because what does that mean? I think the marketplace of ideas can stand some bad ideas, but you have to allow them to come up. You have to allow an example to be set or something to be tested against, not only the will of the public, but the parents involved, et cetera. So I know I'm sounding a little wishy-washy here, but at the same time, I don't want to be dishonest and say, oh yeah, just ban it outright. Because everybody knows that it's a really mixed bag of different ideas. Andrew Joyner, we're not teaching CRT next minute. Why are they trying to ban CRT? Well, like I said, that is the conflict we were seeing over and over again with, as I said, our teacher, educator in the TED Excellence this week who said critical race theory is not taught in K through 12 schools. And then we have this author here who, even though she didn't go into the subject itself, says parents should not interfere in critical race theory being taught because they don't know how it works or how teaching works. Like, which is it, guys? You can't have them both. Check your logic. You're months late if you want to do early Christmas shopping. Well, fortunately, I don't have that many people to shop for. I have a very small family, and they're also very simple to shop for, so it's not very complicated. And every other little bit of shopping I have to do is going to be online. And so long as Amazon can deliver before Christmas, then I'll be in decent shape. So, yeah, I am fortunate in that sense. My Christmas shopping is not all that complex. Let's see. Hell Triangle, Xmas shopping scribe. Yes, a little bit. Like I say, my mother and my father and my sister all are relatively easy to shop for, and the few other people that I have to get gifts for, yeah, it's not that difficult. Bridget. Some of the most memorable lessons came from my mom and dad, including how to think critically. Can you believe that? What, Bridget? No, Bridget. Trust in the teacher. In teacher we trust. They're certified and licensed. None of that can be doubted or questioned. Okay, you can't do it. You're not allowed. Unless it's something that our author also has a problem with, then you're okay. But you have to check with her first on what you're allowed to be concerned about. Just to make that clear. No name. As an educator, parents should be the ones raising their kids. My job is to teach the basics, not opinions. I hate what is happening around me in my career. Yeah. It is impossible for any human being to go into a situation of presenting information and not have some twist to it, some bias. This is how I was taught it. This is how I teach it back. Nothing necessarily malevolent about it, etc. However, the goal, just like in journalism, it's one of those things where it's like, as a journalist, and I'm talking pie in the sky here, as a journalist, ideally, you are reaching for objectivity in what you do. Now, total objectivity is like perfection, impossible. But the pursuit of that ideal is a check in and of itself on your intentions and on your motivations, right? It's the best we as humans can do. And so as a teacher, and now, full disclosure, I'm not a teacher. I'm not a parent. Okay. So my emotional, experiential stake in these subjects is completely on the sidelines, But having been someone's child, having observed parents throughout my life, having been a student in school, I got a little bit of a perspective. And all I would want from a teacher, I think back to the best teachers I ever had. I can't give names, obviously, but I had a teacher in high school who, I mean, he was so passionate about the subject matter. It was an anthropology class, and he was so into it. His enthusiasm was, I mean, in the way that it can be, literally infectious. I got excited because he was excited. And he got excited when I was showing that I was interested. Right? He's really passionate about the subject. And I learned a lot. I learned stuff that I still remember to this day. And we're talking like, what, 30 years almost down the line now. I had a math teacher, an algebra teacher, who wasn't the most animated individual, and he wasn't the most sort of like bombastic, but he knew his stuff, and he knew how to teach, and he knew how to encourage. And me, who I hate math, I hate having the drudgery to do it. I got an A in that class because he was such a good teacher, but he didn't inject opinions into it. I mean, obviously it was math. Oh, but these days, as we know, math is racist. But anyway, you can be a good teacher and teach the subject and be really passionate about it and have fun with it, but not inject your personal agenda into it. This is how the world works. Make of it what you will. That's kind of the notion that's been in my head about what ideally a good teacher is. This is how the world works. Make of it what you will. And when I read an article like this, that's not what I'm getting from this professor. For all of her vaunted education, and I'm sure she did a lot of work and put a lot of time into it and everything else, but if this philosophy is the end result of all that education, it is obvious that simply having a certificate, simply having a degree, does not determine quality of outcome. Just saying. Let's see. Thank you, Andrew Joyner, so much for the thumbs up pair. Appreciate it. Bridget. Something I noticed, the more that people focus on CRT, the less we teach about how horrible indentured servitude was and how the Irish were just as dehumanized. Same with Asians. Makes you think. Yeah, if only we could teach that slavery / indentured servitude is bad, no matter upon whom it is placed upon, or it is used on, I should say. Right? The idea is bad. Here are examples from history where it was implemented. By the way, slavery is bad no matter what. This is the way the world works. Do with it as you will. That's going to become my new catchphrase. Hell Triangle, isn't it the no true Scotsman fallacy when they say, well, real CRT isn't being taught in schools? Yeah, it is. But here's the thing, and I made this concession at the TED Excellence, and I have in the past as well. In its beginning, the actual original term of critical race theory may have been something completely high-minded and debatable and so on. Okay, that is no longer the case. No matter what they may be correct when they say what's being taught in schools isn't critical race theory. They could be correct, technically speaking. I will allow for that. But the problem is the phrase has now been attached to things that maybe you don't agree with, but that's the truth of it. And that's why I think CRT is a very inconvenient way to refer to this stuff. It really does have to be broken down into specifics because it glosses over so much. It possibly vilifies things that shouldn't be vilified. I mean, if a school says we're just teaching history about slavery, and someone says, no, that's just Trojan horse for CRT. Okay, well, both people could be wrong, or one could be right, or one could be wrong. You don't know. That's why you need to get down to the specifics. Uh, you know, so that is a problem that needs to be overcome. You can't just wave your hand with this one phrase and say, this isn't CRT or this is CRT, no matter which side of the argument you're on as a teacher or a parent. The very specifics of what is being taught needs to be looked at. And it's not that hard to do. When you see those worksheets that keep coming out on Instagram and Twitter and things from schools that say, here's an assignment kids were handed where they were asked to say, give me examples of your white privilege. Right? That is a tangible, specific example of an extension of a philosophy that should probably not be taking place in schools, correct? Okay, same thing as with the slave auction deal. Someone was trying to teach something in a pretty poor way, but you need to have the example of what it is and not just use a buzz phrase. That's why buzz phrases are not very helpful. I don't want to belabor this too much, but I just want to make that clear. That's where I'm coming from. Let's see. Oh, Keyradam says, describe it's a poll in the article. Oh, is there a poll? I just scrolled over it. What was it? Oh, this. Should critical race theory be banned from public school curricula? Oh. Do I get to see the results if I choose one? Okay, let's see what happens if I say yes, it should be banned. Oh, 50. What? Wait, no, go back. 63% say it should be banned. 42% say no, it shouldn't. Aha. Wait, is that 53? That's no, it can't be 60. Is that a 6? No, what? Does this add up to more than 100%? Like that is 63. That is the number I'm seeing, right? The text isn't so small that I'm 53. Okay, 53. Sorry, the text is so terrible and or my eyesight is so terrible. Okay, so 53% to 42%, 6 in the middle. So relatively split, which is interesting, out of 4,264 votes. Okay. All right. Well, anyway. Yeah, again, should critical race theory be banned from school? I think that makes it too broad a question. Too broad a question. Let's see. Anybody else? Kanan, Crystal Wing. I like passionate teachers. French teachers who are willing to listen and try to wait. I like passionate teachers. Fur. Teachers who are willing to listen and try to understand the student struggle. Yeah. I mean, conceivably, you have teachers who are themselves students at some point or another, and so you would hope someone would remember where they came from, but everybody's different. And Andrew Joyner, this is a pretty inconsistent, self-contradictory opinion. Yes, yeah, and that's what struck me more than anything else as I read it the other day. I remember having read through it once, and I made a comment on Twitter, but ultimately, I think to myself, for all her degrees and education and certification to teach teachers, she sure as heck can't write a very effective essay. I mean, just the plain out and out contradictions in argument, terrible analogy of surgeon to a teacher, and on and on. Yeah, if I read this and I knew that this lady was going to be teaching my child in one way, shape, or form, even if it was at the high school or college level, I would tell my kid, pay attention, keep your ears open, and think about what she said. Think about what was said. It's really difficult notion to get across sometimes, huh? I mean, I can suffer a bad teacher if so long as I come out of the classroom recognizing that they're a bad teacher, that I don't just take what they say as gospel, that I do think for myself. I wonder what would happen for this, our author here, if the students tried to interfere with her curricula. What would she do then? what would she say? I have a feeling she'd probably accuse the parents of influencing their children. But with that, everyone, I'm going to call it here. I got to get myself ready to hang out with Sister Scribe. Thank you all for joining me for this relatively short Sunday stream, all things considered. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you found something interesting about it, or educational, or entertaining, or intellitorific and edu-fantastic. Let's see. If you'd like to see some more from me, well, I got a whole channel full of videos and streams and other things. I am, as I said, currently in the process of working on my third true crime video, bit by bit, day by day, methodically. It'll be out when it's ready. Let's see. Oh, some plugs while I'm here. If you do like true crime, I would recommend you go check out the channel Dave's Lemonade. He just put out a new video today covering a criminal case. I won't give it away because you'll watch it for yourself. He also has a series that covers the old To Catch a Predator interviews, and he has a very soothing way of approaching the material that is very disturbing, but Dave makes it interesting. Also, if you don't already know about Matt Orchard, go check out Matt Orchard's channel. Also, if you don't know about In Human Form, go check out In Human Form's channel if you like the true crime kind of stuff, and sociology, and other things. But all those advertisements aside, everyone, thank you so much for joining me. Moderators, thank you for keeping an eye on things. Even though everyone here is so well behaved, you have so very little to do. Everybody who donated, thank you. Thank you so much for your generosity. I really do appreciate it. I hope you are all having a good Sunday. I hope you are all safe and well. If you are not well, please get well soon, and I'll see you on the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.